Is gig work really worth it, right? So if you've never tried gig work, or maybe you're in the beginning stages of gig work, I'm gonna go over if it's really worth it, and I'm gonna give you my honest opinion, because I've been doing gig work on and off since 2015, 16-ish, and I gotta tell you, it's been a ride, right? I've done the good apps, I've done the crap apps, I've done everything in between, and I really want to say I've noticed a pattern, and I kind of have, but at the same time, I really haven't, because it's almost unpredictable, right? So it depends on your area when you're doing these gig apps. And I want to say, before I get too deep into it, these apps are literally meant to be gigs, right? Anyone thinking they can start a business out of this, you can, but not on these platforms. If you're gonna start a business, you have to build your clientele. I'll get into that a little later, but I have my notes here. I'm gonna try to stay on topic. As you guys can see, I'm driving right now, just driving to the spot here, so I can film the video, give you guys the content. But what is gig work, right? Well, we have different platforms like Uber, Lyft, Spark, DoorDash, Uber Eats, which is part of Uber. Those are the main ones, right? There's over 150, 200 apps. I can't name them off the top of my head, but those are some of the ones that are the most common. And typically the ones that are the most common are, yes, they're more congested, where there are more gig workers on the platform, but they've stood the test of time in terms of gig apps, right? They're not one of these apps that are going to be like good for like a year or two and then all of a sudden fall off, right? So those apps that I mentioned, another couple that are on the come up is Deliver That. What's the other one called? Deliver That. Check that one out. And I'm gonna put some of the links down below so you guys can check them out if you guys want to know more information about them. But I have a list of around 120 different gig apps. Some of them aren't available in my area, but yeah, I'll make a video on that pretty soon. But those are the more popular gig platforms. You can start to branch off and grow your clientele off these gig apps. So something that I have wanted to do, but I just thought about it this year, is starting like a vending business, right? Because one, I want to buy a physical vending machine to put in buildings, right? That's another business idea for you guys, for anyone interested. You can buy a machine for a couple thousand, or around $2,000-$3,000. So you can use these gig apps to pay for that. Now, you can use that same framework for any business, right? You can do these gig apps to get money together to put into something else that can make you money, like passively, right? Now, it's not 100% passive because you're still going to be tending to it, but you can outsource it, or you can, put money into a business that requires very little effort after that initial cost or whatever you pay for it, right? So the growing trend of gig work and the impact on the workforce. So I wanted to touch on this because this is something that people need to realize, and we're in a different time nowadays because we have cell phones, we have literally supercomputers in the palm of our hands. So with that being said, we can literally control our narrative, right? Every situation is not the same, right? But if you guys have seen my videos before, I just recently left a job of 3 years, and I don't have a backup plan, right? I mean, I have a backup plan, but I don't have a traditional job lined up. But I'm not worried about that because there's gig work, right? And again, this is something that's good to kind of fall on if you're in between jobs, right? So I made a decision to put in my 2 weeks. Well, I put in 3 weeks notice, but I have gig work I can fall on, right? And if you're in a case where you maybe you hate your job, or you hate your coworkers, or the job's just not for you. Like, you're not stuck at that place, right? You're not stuck there. You can simply leave if you have plans in place. Now, I don't have a specific job in place. My case is a little more complicated. I'm in school working towards my bachelor's degree for cybersecurity. I graduate in March. My plan is to put my resume together, get a couple projects done in the meantime, and then put my resume out there and apply for jobs that way, right? But in the meantime, like, I don't want to just take any job. I want it to be more related to what I'm doing. This job wasn't directly related to what I'm doing, so I kind of wanted to do something else. And plus, I got kind of sick of the job, to be honest. To be really honest. So this is an honest truth video. So if I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna be honest, right? But yeah, it's great when you need gig apps are great when you need money in between jobs, right? So if you need to leave a job and you don't have anything to fall back on, it's a good idea to apply for these before you need them. For example, Spark. That's an app that I waited months for, and I just signed up just to sign up. I didn't need the app or anything like that, but I signed up, and therefore when I did need to make money on a different platform, because I was doing Lyft at the time, part-time, I went to Spark to check it out, and I'm like, wait a minute, I can kind of replace Lyft, not have people in my car all the time, and make the same, if not even more money. It took me a little bit to find the pattern with Spark, because you make money at different times. I work a full-time job, and on the weekends I will go out and do Lyft in Boston. Now, I made some good money doing that, but with Spark, I can't really do the same times because it's not as busy during the same times that Lyft is. So I developed a pattern and figured out the busy times and the best times to go out for Spark. Anyways, I'm gonna go into the benefits of gig work, right? So you have control over your schedule, right? You have 168 hours in a week. If you do gig work full-time, which I do not recommend, I'll get into that later. If you do gig work full-time, you have the ability to kind of mess around with your schedule a little bit, right? You can work in the morning, you can work in the evening. You don't have to work lunchtime, unless you're doing Grubhub or DoorDash, stuff like that, where it's beneficial to work on those busy times. But you don't need to be out there when it's busy traffic, or when you know your area is going to be crazy with traffic. You don't need to be out there. You can pick and choose your schedule, right? You have the opportunity to earn extra income and build a full-time career. This one I don't agree with, right? This one, yeah, you can build a career with this, but this isn't scalable, right? If you do gig apps, you're capped at a certain amount. Now, that amount does depend on where you live, what you do for the gig work, and if you're multi-apping, right? Multi-apping is when you have one app running, you're taking orders on, and then another app running that you're also taking orders on. And whichever one sends the good order first, you take from that. That's ultimately what these apps should be used for. You should always be multi-apping. Because if you're only doing one specific app, what if that app is slow? What if that app is not busy at the time? Then you're kind of screwed. So it's always better to have multiple apps running at the same time, so that, you know, if one of them slows down, you can go on to another one. I had to do some work on my car a couple days ago, and I had to take an Uber, right? I took Uber and Lyft. And then a lot of the drivers would have both their Uber and Lyft app on, and whenever they got a ride, they would turn off the other one. That's smart. Now, a lot of these apps are catching on to that, so they have challenges to kind of keep you on the platform. For example, for Lyft, they say, oh, if you do this many rides, we'll give you this much. Well, if I'm multi-apping, I can't really hit that number because I'm splitting my attention between multiple apps. So you kind of have to figure out what the best course of action is. If you're trying to complete a challenge, I would stick to that app. But if there's no challenges going on, no bonuses going on, multi-app. Maximize your time, because it's your time, right? You don't get time back. So time that you're putting in, you don't want to waste that by just sitting there waiting for an order. Like, have multiple apps running, right? Potential for high earning potential. I don't know why it said it like that, but yes, it's a potential to earn a lot of money with these platforms. I know with Spark specifically, I know someone that has a cargo van, and because they have a bigger vehicle, they made one time, they told me they made over $600 in a day. Now this is not in an hour or 2 hours. They spent a couple hours doing it, but 600 in a day is pretty damn good, right? And I'll do y'all a favor and I'll put the Spark link down below. Right now, that's my favorite platform. I used to do Instacart, Shipt. I'm not doing those anymore. DoorDash, I never was a fan of DoorDash, so I didn't do that. But Spark right now is one of my top apps right now. If Lyft can come back with some promos, I'll start doing Lyft again. But in the meantime, Spark's gonna be my best friend. But yeah, potential for high earning. So I'll go on to the next one, right? Some of the negatives of gig work, right? Some of the challenges. I kind of mentioned this earlier, the lack of stability and consistent and non-consistent income. There's going to be times where it's going to be slow. You got to be prepared for that. That's why I mentioned you need to multi-app. You have to multi-app. If you want to be successful doing this gig stuff, you need to multi-app. And again, I'm not saying doing this stuff full time. Like, these gigs should be a bridge, right? Whether you're moving from job to job, or maybe you do these gig apps on the weekend like I do. These should not be like your career, because there's no trend with it, right? You can't stay doing this forever. There's an income cap at these. Plus, you got to think about the depreciation on your vehicle. All the money that you're going to be spending on repairs, maintenance, any damages that occur. You need to be prepared for all that stuff. So that right there, inconsistent and instability at times. If you have multi-app, or if you are multi-apping, you should be in a better position than someone who's just using one app and only sign up for one app. If you have an area that has a lot of apps in your area, I would sign up for any of them that interest you. Sign up for as many as you can, because the more apps that you have as options, the better your chances are to make consistent money every single day. All right. Now, limited benefits and job security. Now, this did change recently with Lyft and Uber. I'm not sure about every single state, but for the state of Massachusetts, there's a minimum $33, I think it's 32 and change, $33 an hour guaranteed, as long as you have a passenger in your car. So that means when I accept the passenger and I'm on my way to them, that time counts. When they're in the vehicle, that time counts. And once I drop them off, then the timer stops. All that time that you have passengers in your car, or you're on your way to a passenger, all that time adds up. At the end of the week, if you make less than what you're supposed to be making, if you got paid $33 an hour, then Lyft and Uber are required by Massachusetts law to pay the difference, right? So let's say you work 10 hours, right? You work 10 hours, you have passengers in and out, right? But for the combined total, they were in your vehicle, you had a passenger in your vehicle or on your way to a passenger for 10 hours total. Well, that's $33 an hour for 10 hours, which is $330 or $333, all right? I was trying to do quick math in my head. Now, if you only made, let's say, $270, maybe the rides didn't pay that much. Well, Lyft is gonna cover that $63, the difference. So if you only make $270 and you work 10 hours of ride time, they're gonna cover that. So you're supposed to make $333 or $330, and you only made this much, $270. So they're gonna cover the difference. Now, my bad for the math. I'm trying to think on the fly, but you guys hopefully get that, right? However many hours you work is what you make. Now, it could depend on your state. Someone just commented and had a good point that said they saw that it was only Massachusetts. So if you don't live in Massachusetts, check with your state if they have a law in place. This law for Massachusetts just came into place in January 1st of 2025. So it's a fairly new thing. So when I made that video, I didn't know that some of the states in the US didn't follow that, right? So there's still, even if it doesn't follow that, there's still opportunity to make a lot of money. Like, I'm still going to be taking rides in New Hampshire. Like, just because I have that guaranteed hourly in Massachusetts, I'm still going to be taking rides if they're worth it in New Hampshire. Now, I don't know when I'm going to start driving again. Like I said, I'm doing Spark as of 2 weeks from now. So if that starts to get slow, then I'll go on to something else. But again, limited benefits and job security. With the Lyft thing, they do offer sick time, and there's a couple other discounts that a lot of the other apps do give you. Like you can accumulate sick time. You can accumulate, what's this guy doing? You can accumulate what's it called? You can accumulate sick time. You can pay for insurance, like health insurance, stuff like that. So there are options out there, right? But I think with the notes that I put down, we're kind of referencing like jobs that do offer benefits. You won't be getting benefits with every single gig app that's out there. Some of them do offer it. Some of them offer a discount. But it's up to you to do that research and find out what works best for your situation. So the impact of mental health and well-being. I've done this full time before. I know how annoying it can get, how boring it can get sometimes, doing the same apps over and over. Or when I was doing Instacart, I'd encounter the same issues over and over. I still got through it. It wasn't too crazy of a challenge. I kind of got it after a while. But they're issues that should have been resolved by the app. And, if you don't like it, just don't do the app. That's what I did. I stopped doing Lyft because of some issues. I stopped doing Shipt because of some issues, right? There's some issues with every single app that's out there. If you don't like it, just don't do the app, right? It's not worth being stressed over stuff that you can't control, right? Just remove yourself from that and you're good. So I'm gonna try to go a little quicker. This is going on a little bit more, but I have two more topics, right? Is gig work right for you? Access your personal needs and goals. So again, what I mentioned before, you want to make sure you have goals in place. So when you're doing these gig apps, you actually have a number that you're aiming for, right? Let's say you only want to make, I don't know, $1,200 a week. Well, you got to do this many orders or this many rides or this many batches to hit that number, right? And then every single day, try to strive for that number. Just break down that big goal and break it down within the days. So if you're trying to do 50 rides, divide that by 5 days. If you're only going to be doing gig work for 5 days, now those 50 rides, they turn into 10. Well, 10's still kind of a big number. Okay, now split that in half. Maybe you do 5 in the morning, 5 at nighttime. At the end of the week, you're still going to hit your goal of 50 rides or 50 orders, but you've broken it down so it almost doesn't seem like a lot. So you want to be able to do that, hit those goals. Consider your skills and experience, guys. So you're doing these gig work, these gig jobs. Maybe you're doing dolly where you're moving people around. Maybe you're doing driving with Uber and Lyft, right? Find out what your skill is, right? If you're kind of lost and don't know what you're good at, use the downtime that you possibly have. Or when you have Uber and Lyft passengers in your car, ask them what they do. Maybe something that they do can help inspire you and motivate you to chase what you want to chase. I remember when I first started doing Lyft last year in 2024, the second passengers that I ever picked up on the Lyft platform that year were in cybersecurity. So I was asking them questions, and I was early in my cybersecurity journey. So I think I was a junior at that time. Right now, I'm a senior technically in college. So I asked them, it was an older couple. They had to be in their 50s, 60s. So they've been doing cybersecurity for years. So even before the computers were like mainstream thing, right? So I was just asking them questions, just trying to pick their brain and see what they knew. But you never know who's going to get in your vehicle. You never know who you're going to drop off food to, or who you're going to drop off boxes to. Like, just try to network, right? If you don't know what you want to do, that's going to help you find out what you're going to do or what you want to do. Even the jobs themselves. Maybe you like moving people. Maybe that'll help you and inspire you to start your own moving company, right? And then now you're doing these gig apps to generate money to buy your first vehicle, start to form that business or whatever it is that you're trying to do. So consider your skills and experience. And then now evaluate your risk tolerance and financial situation. You got to think about, is the mileage that you're putting on your vehicle worth it? The wear and tear, is it worth it? When you're getting $2.50 on DoorDash, is that worth it? For me, it wasn't. So I stopped doing that app. I'm only going to use my time to do things that are actually like productive, right? $2.50, I can't even buy a freaking coffee at Dunkin' Donuts with that money. So I deleted that app. That was like literally the last straw, right? Because I stopped doing DoorDash. And I never did that full time, but I would do it every now and then, but it was just never worth it, right? So evaluate your risk tolerance and just your tolerance in general for an app, and just ask yourself if it's really worth it. Yeah, the potential could be there to make money with the app, but don't be blinded and tell yourself that, and then don't stay in a situation where it's like not paying well and you're like, oh, let me give it more of a chance. Like, no, if it's not paying well, kick that app off and get rid of it. It's not worth it. All right. Tips for success in gig work. You want to develop a strong online presence. Now, a lot of people don't do this. I see on when they do Lyft, Uber, any of that. They don't have a YouTube channel. They don't have a TikTok account. They don't have a Instagram or a Facebook, right? Where they're building what they're passionate about, right? Try to have something where you can kind of push people to. Maybe you have a flyer in the back. When you're doing Uber and Lyft, you laminate something that leads people to a platform. Maybe you're selling a service. Maybe you do personal training, which is what I used to do. Or you do fitness coaching, which I used to do as well. Like, you can put that in the back and promote those services, right? And send them to those other platforms. Because yeah, you're making money off of the rides, but now you can keep making money, continuous money, and even residual money if you have another service that you can provide to them, right? So think about that. Also, record everything. Document what you can. If you're doing drop-offs, film that. That can be content for the future. Your future self will thank you if you do that. There's so many orders and deliveries that I wish I filmed that I can make content with today, right? So try to film if you have the means. If you have an extra phone or a camera or something, just film it. Film the process. You might not think it's going to be good, but someone's going to see that and be like, damn, like that actually looks kind of cool. I kind of want to try that app out, right? So definitely film. Build a network of clients or customers. I already touched on that. You can simply put flyers. You can pass business cards. I wouldn't suggest that. I would personally do the flyer on the back seat if you're doing Uber or Lyft. If you're doing like Shipt, Instacart, Spark, I would make flyers and put them on the grocery bags or staple them so that, when they get their stuff, they can see your flyer or your business, and then if they're interested, they can hit you up, right? Or start to notice things about the homes that you deliver to. If homes maybe need mowing or plowing, or maybe you can steam clean, or what's it called? That pressure washing. If they need pressure washing on their home or their pavement, like, notice those things, because you can start building clientele off of certain patterns that you see on homes, right? Try to find something that you're good at. And then I have two more here. Multi-app, which I already covered. You want to make sure you're multi-apping, and then continuously adapt and learn new trends. So find out what's going on right now. Right now, TikTok's pretty hot right now. So you can try to use that to your advantage, however it may be, but use it to your advantage. Find out how you can make money by using TikTok. Maybe you have a page that you send people to, and maybe you have your permit where you can sell food. You can make a platform like Instacart and TikTok, or Instagram and TikTok, and make it work for you. Start posting your videos of you cooking, or maybe you doing a craft or something that you're going to start selling, and then promote it that way, right? But that's pretty much the video, guys. If you guys got value, make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment below. What are you guys going to be working towards, right? What app are you going to be choosing? What skill do you want to develop? And what business do you want to start, right? You can go many directions, guys. It's not just doing an app, calling it a day. Like, there's so many things that you can do with these apps. But I'll catch you guys on the next one. Hope everyone has a good day, and I'll see ya.